What's going on, guys? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to make a video talking about why Jon Jones cannot be considered the GOAT inside the UFC. GOAT standing for greatest of all time. Jon Jones is widely regarded as the greatest fighter of all time inside the organization. There are a couple other individuals, but really no one really debates with you about Jon Jones being the greatest of all time. Today, I want to kind of make a couple statements, kind of talk about some different things on why truly Jon Jones cannot be the greatest fighter in UFC history, something that not a lot of people are looking at, kind of a very controversial opinion, but something that I truly do think that needs to be looked at, considering that, yes, Jon Jones is thought to be one of the greatest fighters of all time. Yes, fighting, but he had so much stuff outside the octagon and so many things that really impacted his legacy in life throughout his entire career to truly, I do not believe that you can count Jon Jones as the greatest MMA/UFC fighter that has ever stepped foot in the octagon. But before we jump into the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. That is the best way to help the channel grow. And please, while you're down there, help turn on the post notifications just so you guys are always notified about future and UFC content releasing every single day. But without further ado, let's jump into this video talking about why Jon Jones isn't the greatest fighter of all time and who I actually think should be widely regarded as the greatest UFC fighter in history. So as we all know, Jon Jones is kind of widely regarded, considering skill for skill, the best UFC fighter ever in the organization. He's beat the likes of Daniel Cormier, Alexander Gustafsson, Glover Teixeira, Cyril Gane, Dominic Reyes, Ovince Prue, a lot of different fighters inside the organization. But what not a lot of people look at, the bad things that have gone on in Jon Jones' career. And I understand that really it is something that, yes, you look at a fighter, skill for skill, you look at their skills and that's the best fighter they have. But considering that Jon Jones has vacated the belt not regarding to his last time in 2020, but rather due to a disciplinary action in 2015, 2016, and 2017. In 2015, Jon Jones was stripped of his belt due to a hit and run that he ended up serving time for. 2016, he tested positive for illegal substances prior to his fight with Daniel Cormier. And after his fight in 2017, he was tested positive with banned substances yet again, which caused his fight with Daniel Cormier to be overturned to a no contest. And I believe that was the first fight between these two individuals. But truly, Jon Jones has done some things in his career that really he has had a very, very, very hard time. I know recently he just had that situation with that individual who came to test him very early in the morning, I think, and then there was some assault charge on Jon Jones. I made a video about it. I might link that right here if I remember, but there's been so many crazy things that have gone on with Jon Jones, and I think that the casual MMA fan sits here and says, like, fighting is the only thing that we care about. But considering that Jon Jones has kind of had some things that he's taken steroids and he's done all these things, if you do something like that, you really, 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 that will never change your body for your entire lifetime. And being able to work harder and get the more rest in less amount of time is something that's going to help any single person, no matter the situation, especially in a very, very, very hard sport like in mixed martial arts and then in the UFC. Someone who is also regarded as one of the greatest fighters in UFC history is Anderson the Spider Silva. But Anderson Silva also did take steroids at some point in his career, some banned substances, and truly a lot of individuals don't like to say that Anderson Silva is one of the greatest fighters of all time, considering that he did end up taking those supplements, which really kind of, hindered his career and tarnished that little bit, to say that, yes, he wasn't completely clean no matter what. Jon Jones, in my opinion, needs to be held to those same standards. And yes, Anderson Silva, skill for skill, was one of the best skilled UFC fighters the organization has ever seen. He was such a good champion in that middleweight division for such a very long time. But Jon Jones, same situation that happened to him, probably even worse with some of the stuff that he's happened. So truly, who do I think should be considered the greatest UFC fighter of all time? And in my opinion, that would have to be Georges St-Pierre. Georges St-Pierre, truly, skill for skill, was right up there with Jon Jones. He's probably number 2 greatest of all time. But the biggest thing is he had no controversial backings behind him. He didn't have any situations that went through everything. He was just a fighter who was at the welterweight division and just took over everything at that point. And genuinely, he retired from the sport, came back, beat Michael Bisping. I don't know exactly what number it was, but an incredible fight. Georges St-Pierre is a very, very, very good fighter. And I do think skill to skill, he might not be as exciting, as box office as Jon Jones. But considering that he never did anything to, performance enhance his career, is something that truly I think is a massive, massive thing to say and to kind of contribute yourself into. There's a mental edge that really goes on knowing that you're, more conditioned, stronger, all these different things when you take a substance that is illegal and kind of puts you above the competition. No matter if it was a recreational something or something to kind of boost everything up that much more, it is, it is an advantage in some category. And I know some people might think that they should be allowed to do some stuff and some other stuff and whatnot. Ultimately, it is in an organization. They did sign to be in something that is, widespread for every single person to be able to deal with. And compared Georges St. Pierre to Jon Jones, Georges was able to go in there and beat every single person with the rules that are fair for every single one else to compete at. And Jon Jones just wasn't able to do that. On top of that, Jon Jones had situations with his hit and run. He had other situations like coming up later in his career, like I said, with that situation at the when he was getting tested. There's so many different things that have gone on, and genuinely, I really, really, really think that Georges St. Pierre needs to be regarded over Jon Jones as the greatest fighter of all time. Not only does he have the accolades that Jon Jones has, maybe not as many title defenses, but he has a great reign at the welterweight division. He's beat some incredible individuals there. He then went up to middleweight to beat Michael Bisping in the UFC 210 early age of that. And genuinely, he is a very, very, very good fighter in every single category. And Georges St. Pierre's name needs to be remembered a little bit more considering how good and a prominent figure he was in the UFC at that time. Ultimately, in my opinion, I do think that Georges St. Pierre should be regarded as the greatest UFC fighter of all time, considering that he has a better, not track record, but has a better, just cleaner image inside the UFC. I know skill for skill, I'm still taking Jon Jones over Georges St. Pierre, but I truly do believe that there is something going with being able to have an individual who kind of is able to keep themselves together to kind of be your GOAT of the sport. And Jon Jones kind of having a resume of not so great things in his past, and I understand that he's kind of been able to shape himself and mold himself into a different person for the future. But I truly think that Georges St. Pierre, having that clean patch, just being all about business, as someone who kind of went and did his own thing on his own time, but then came back to absolutely dominate inside the organization, is something that I truly think is a massive, massive, massive advantage for him when it comes into the GOAT debate. And I think it's something that not a lot of people talk about. Ultimately, like I said, I think Georges St. Pierre should be regarded as the GOAT over Jon Jones. And that statement is 100% purely made because Georges St. Pierre's image is better than Jon Jones's entirely. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fights is MMA, and please let me know what you think of down below in the comment section about this take that Jon Jones shouldn't be considered the greatest UFC fighter of all time, considering of all his out the octagon, out in the recreational area things have impacted his career inside the octagon in a massive way. Anytime that supplements are used to enhance performance or for any type of use in that standpoint, it is something that will always affect you for your entire career and entire life. And to coincide with that, Jon Jones has also not had, the best history outside the octagon to kind of prove himself in a good light. Now, on the other hand, Georges St. Pierre has never done anything like that, has had a great track record outside the organization, has had an amazing, illustrious UFC career himself, and genuinely, in my opinion, should be considered to be more of a UFC GOAT, quote unquote, than someone like Jon Jones, who has all these issues and has all these things. And genuinely, I think that Georges St. Pierre should be higher on that ranking. But ultimately, this video will go down in the comments and tell me what you think about this take. But thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fights is MMA. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. That is the best way to help the channel grow. And please, please, please go down there and turn on the post notifications, just so you guys are always and further notified when UFC content releases every single day. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon with more UFC content and news.